When people hear the name Hitler, they often imagine a mastermind, a man who almost conquered the world. But the truth is much simpler and much more human. Hitler didn't lose the war in one dramatic moment. He lost it slowly through pride, bad judgment, and the inability to admit he was wrong. This is how it really happened. At the start of World War II, Adolf Hitler looked unstoppable. Everything he touched seemed to work. Poland fell quickly. France collapsed faster than anyone expected. German soldiers marched through Europe like the war was already decided. And that's when the real problem began. Because Hitler didn't see these victories as teamwork. He saw them as proof that he was always right. At first, he listened to his generals. They planned the attacks. They understood logistics, supply lines, and timing. But after each victory, Hitler listened less and trusted himself more. He started interrupting meetings, overruling experienced commanders, making decisions based on instinct instead of facts. And no one dared to stop him. In Hitler's head, one idea slowly grew. If I was right before, I'll always be right. That thought has destroyed more empires than enemy armies ever did. Because once a leader believes he can't be wrong, every mistake becomes invisible. Even during victories, there were warning signs. Supplies were stretched. Fuel was limited. Troops were exhausted. Generals noticed. Hitler ignored it. He believed speed and confidence could replace preparation. They can't. Britain refused to fall. France fell, but Britain didn't. Instead of focusing fully on defeating Britain, Hitler hesitated. He changed plans. He lost momentum. This was the first time the war didn't go his way. And instead of adjusting, he looked for a new enemy. That enemy was Russia. The fatal decision begins here. Invading the Soviet Union wasn't just a military move. It was emotional. Hitler wanted glory, control, a final, crushing victory. He didn't want advice. He wanted confirmation. Generals warned him. History warned him. Even geography warned him. He didn't listen, because by then, Hitler wasn't leading Germany anymore. His ego was the Russia mistake, the war he couldn't escape. When Hitler turned his eyes toward the Soviet Union, it wasn't just strategy. It was belief. He believed Russia was weak. His people would collapse. He believed the war would be over before winter. History had already proven this belief wrong. Napoleon tried the same thing, but he failed. Hitler knew this, but he ignored it. In June 1941, German troops crossed into Soviet territory. At first, it looked like another victory for Germans. Cities fell. Prisoners were captured by the millions. The German army moved fast. The farther they went, the longer the supply lines stretched. Fuel had to travel hundreds of kilometers. Food ran short. Spare parts disappeared. But Hitler only saw maps turning red. He thought progress meant success. But it wasn't true. He misunderstood the enemy completely. Hitler believed the Soviet Union would collapse like France. But Russia didn't fight like France. When cities were threatened, they burned them. When factories were at risk, they moved them east. When soldiers died, more took their place. Millions were lost, and still the Soviets fought. Hitler couldn't understand this. He thought fear would break them, but it hardened them. By the time German soldiers realized winter was coming, it was already too late. They had no winter clothing. Engines froze. Guns stopped firing. Men slept in snow and didn't wake up. Generals begged for retreat. Hitler said no, because in his mind, pulling back meant losing. And losing was unacceptable. Stalingrad, the moment everything snapped. Stalingrad wasn't just a battle. It was a warning. German troops were surrounded. Supplies were gone. Escape was still possible. But Hitler refused. He promised air support that never came. He ordered men to hold ground that no longer mattered. Over 300,000 soldiers were lost. Not because they had to die, but because one man couldn't admit he was wrong. After Stalingrad, something changed. The German army still fought, but it no longer believed. The war became a trap. From that moment on, Germany wasn't advancing. It was bleeding. Every step forward cost more than it gained. Every retreat was delayed until it was too late. Russia wasn't just fighting Germany. It was draining it, slowly, relentlessly, and Hitler still refused to see the truth. Russia didn't defeat Hitler in one blow. It broke him piece by piece. By the time he realized he couldn't win, he was already trapped in a war he couldn't escape. And next, we'll see how Hitler's ego didn't just destroy armies. It destroyed the people around him and the truth itself. By the middle of the war, Adolf Hitler wasn't just losing battles. He was losing something far more dangerous. Reality. Not because it disappeared, but because no one was brave enough to bring it to him. Fear replaced honesty. Early in the war, Hitler's meetings were debates. Generals argued. Plans were questioned. Mistakes were corrected. Later, the room changed. Officers stood stiff. Voices lowered. Not because they agreed, but because disagreement had consequences. A wrong answer could mean being fired, humiliated, being arrested, or worse. So the truth stopped reaching him. And a leader without truth is blind. He took control of everything. Hitler didn't just give orders. He micromanaged. He decided where tanks should go, when armies should attack, which cities must never fall. Decisions that should have been made by trained commanders were made by one man staring at maps from a bunker. Hitler trusted maps more than people. Every experienced general knew one thing. Sometimes pulling back saves an army. Hitler refused to accept this. To him, retreat meant weakness. Flexibility meant failure. So he ordered men to stand still, even when surrounded. Entire divisions vanished because retreat was not allowed. And still, he blamed the soldiers. He fired the people who tried to help him. The more honest a general was, the faster he disappeared. Officers who warned him were removed. Those who agreed with him were promoted. Soon, Hitler wasn't being advised. He was being echoed. What he said came back to him. Stronger, louder, and more dangerous. Reality didn't fit anymore, so he rejected it. The world around him was changing. He wasn't. By 1943, Germany was losing the air war. Cities were burning. Fuel was almost gone. The Allies adapted. Hitler didn't. He repeated the same orders. Expected different results. Blamed everyone else. That's not leadership. That's denial. Some officers finally realized the truth. Hitler wasn't just making mistakes. He was the mistake. They tried to kill him in 1944. The bomb failed. And after that, the fear became absolute. Anyone suspected of doubt was executed. After that day, no one tried to save Germany anymore. They just tried to survive.